Our film begins with Kony, a former Olympic athlete who has decided to get married and settle down at home, and her favorite hobby is collecting free coupons. She goes and buys everything she wants for free or at a big discount, but her husband Rico is annoyed by her hobby, which he doesn't consider real work. He works in the tax office and is the one who supports the household. Kony fills the room with the free things she buys, which she may not even benefit from. So, her husband asks her about the benefit of all these products. She replies that the price of her stocks will increase soon, but he doesn't believe her. He walks away, and Kony herself wants to have a baby. She keeps trying in every possible way and spends a lot of money on procedures and IVF. Finally, she succeeds and gets pregnant, but she loses the baby after a short time, and her mental state deteriorates. And her relationship with Rick becomes bad because of the issues surrounding having children. It's as if there's an emotional barrier between them, so Rick decides to travel for work for a longer duration to avoid staying at home too much. Kony notices this, so she tries to keep herself busy as much as possible with her friend JoJo, who is a not-so-famous YouTuber. She talks about how to save money through discount coupons. They become very close friends and share a hobby of collecting coupons. A lady comes to Kony every now and then and gives her magazines that contain all kinds of coupons, which Kony and JoJo cut out from the magazine. They use them to buy everything they want for free. Kony has lost hope in having children, so she decides to turn the children's room she has into a storage area for the products she buys. Kony goes to the market, and there she buys a lot of things that total up to $200, but because of the discounts she has, the amount comes down to just $16. The cashier is very annoyed as he sees a large number of coupons in front of him, and he wonders how she managed to collect all of them. One day, Kony returns to her storage room. Suddenly, she remembers that she is unable to have children. She decides to eat some of the cornflakes in front of her, which are meant for Olympic champions. But she finds that it tastes terrible and very bad. She gets angry and decides to write an email to the manufacturing company, telling them that she is an Olympic athlete and that she doesn't know what will happen to her when she eats these spoiled cereals. A few days later, she receives a message from the company containing a free coupon for the cornflakes, and they apologize for what happened. Kony is very happy and goes to the market to use the coupon she received. She feels very pleased and proud of what she did. The cashier tells her not to think of herself as too special because any complaint from any customer to the manufacturing company will result in them sending a free coupon to appease them. That's just the norm. Then she gets a brilliant idea and decides to read the ingredients of every product she has and invent any harm to write to the manufacturing company so they will send her a free coupon. She succeeds in getting a lot of free coupons, and JoJo is amazed by the number of coupons Kony has and offers to buy one from her. Kony tells JoJo that she can buy any coupon for half the price, and JoJo agrees since there are some very expensive products. Then Kony gets another idea and tells JoJo that they can sell free coupons to people for half the price. This way, they will have a lot of money. JoJo asks her how they will secure a constant source of coupons since they can't always write a complaint. Kony tells her that she has an idea and shows her a video of the coupon manufacturing company, which is responsible for printing coupons for all products in America. The company's headquarters is in Mexico, and JoJo asks her if they are going to break into the company and steal from it. Kony tells her that she has an idea, but they first need to travel to Mexico. On the way, JoJo is not convinced about the plan and tells her that it's fraud and theft, and they could get imprisoned for it. Kony replies that she shouldn't look at it that way and should see the glass as half full because they could become millionaires. Kony's plan is to make an agreement with one of the people who works at the company and make him their partner in exchange for stealing coupons for them. They arrive at the factory and stand back to identify the person they will choose. They spot a man waiting for his wife and discover that both of them work at the same place, so they continue to follow them in the car. Due to the spread of gangs in Mexico, the man gets scared and tells his wife to run away, raising his gun towards Kony and JoJo. However, they manage to calm him down and explain what they want. The man, named Jose, gets into the car with them, and they start following his wife, who picks up a brick to throw at them. But when she sees her husband, she gets into the car with them. At home, Kony presents her idea to Jose and his wife, who is pregnant, and Jose is hesitant and scared. Kony asks him about his salary from the company, and he tells her he makes $2 an hour, which is very little. Kony and JoJo are shocked and tell him that the company deserves to be robbed. His wife tries to convince him, saying he needs to earn more money for their child's future. Jose gets convinced and shares his plan with them, which is to take all the extra coupons that the company is supposed to dispose of and send them to them in America. He tells them that no one will suspect them at the border since they only focus on weapons. They all agree on the delivery schedules and Jose's percentage, and then they leave. In a market in America, there is an old woman buying a product with a free coupon. Suddenly, Ken, who is responsible for detecting fraud and coupon theft, comes over and checks the woman's coupon, discovering that it is counterfeit. This is because it is dated the 31st of February, which doesn't exist. The cashier and the old woman try to persuade him to make an exception for her, but he doesn't agree and tells them that work is work before he leaves. On the plane, the woman sitting next to him, who has a little girl with her, asks Ken if she can switch seats with him because her daughter calms down when she sits by the window. Ken tells her that he won't agree, as he wants to teach her daughter a lesson that life doesn't give you everything easily. The mother is very surprised by his rudeness and falls silent. Ken returns to the home where he lives alone, and there is no one who loves him. He shouts at the top of his lungs to release the negative energy inside him and watches television. At JoJo's house, she has created a website for purchasing discount coupons and is promoting it on her channel. She showcases many products she has bought through the coupon website, and people can buy any coupon for half the price. The website's profits reach a very large amount in a short period. This causes the website to freeze until it is proven that the business is legitimate, leaving Kony and JoJo very upset, and they don't know what to do. Kony remembers that a girl managed to steal JoJo's identity and take all her money from her bank account. This is because she is a very skilled hacker, and Kony tells JoJo that they might ask for her help. JoJo, having no other solution, agrees, and they go to the hacker named Tina, who takes them to her secret hideout because she works in the deep web. She tells them that she will restore their website for them, but she gives them a lot of instructions, one of which is that they must not work from home. She tells them to rent a space away from their homes and also says that she will create accounts with fake identities so that no one will catch them. She will make it look like there are multiple people working with them so that no one becomes suspicious. However, in return, she will take 10% of their profits, and Kony and JoJo have to agree because they don't want to end up in prison. In Ken's office, he finds a huge number of messages from all the companies that had their coupons stolen, and they are losing a lot of money. They send him all the coupons they have. Ken stays up all night going through them and doesn't find a single counterfeit coupon. And he can't figure anything out until he manages to find one invoice that had one of the coupons. He goes to the woman's house and asks her where she got the coupon from, and she tells him about JoJo's website. But she is upset because she wants to keep buying milk for her young son, which is very expensive for her, and she doesn't have a problem even if the coupon is stolen. So Ken tries to trace the owner of the website that the woman mentioned, and he decides to report it to the FBI, but they don't take the case seriously. As soon as Ken leaves, they start mocking him, saying that they work on weapons and terrorism cases. They won't focus on a case about free coupons, and they decide to transfer the case to the general office that handles small cases. Ken keeps calling them, reminding them about the coupon case until the case finally reaches a small office employee who eventually calls Ken. The employee says that he tried to hack their website, but it is well protected and no one can break into it. Ken is affected by this and tells him that with this, the employee will not help him and that he needs an investigator to go out with him. The employee tells him that his work is administrative and that he has no experience in field work. Ken keeps talking, getting frustrated, until he mentions the mail. The employee asks him if the coupons are sent by mail. As soon as he learns that they are indeed sent by mail, he tells Ken that he will assign an investigator to him. Ken is happy and eagerly waiting for the investigator, feeling very excited. At Kony's house, she and JoJo remember Tina's words, which told them that when they receive their money, they must launder it so that no one discovers them. They try to call Tina to find out how to launder money, but Tina doesn't answer them. Then Kony recalls what Rick, who works for the tax office and has experience in detecting money laundering, told her. She remembers that he mentioned a story about someone who transferred their money to a distant island and bought things with it. This gives them the idea to buy many items and sell them so that their money becomes clean. They keep thinking about the items they could buy with the amount of $50 million. Kony calls her husband, who is actually in a meeting, and asks him what the first thing he would buy if he had a lot of money. He replies that it would definitely be a Lamborghini. So Kony and JoJo end up buying 6 Lamborghinis and a private jet, and they travel in it, enjoying their time. But Kony still has a lot of money left, so she finds a place that is having a weapons sale. She tells JoJo that they could buy weapons with their remaining money, which would be licensed. JoJo, however, objects to the idea. But in the end, JoJo agrees, and Kony buys a huge amount of weapons. They start thinking together about how they could sell them. At Ken's office, Simon, who is a postal inspector, arrives. Ken mocks him and asks what being a postal inspector means, telling him that he wants someone from the FBI instead. Simon explains to him that the case he has is under the jurisdiction of the postal police and that they will be taking over the case from here. This frustrates Ken greatly, and he tells Simon that he has always wanted to handle important cases and do better work, asking him to be his partner. However, Simon refuses, saying that he doesn't have the experience and wouldn't be of any help to him. Ken continues to talk about his long experience in the field of coupons. Simon asks him if he has ever tried to buy a coupon from the site he mentions, and Ken becomes embarrassed and doesn't know how to respond. Simon tells him to try buying one and to update him on exactly what happens at each step until the coupon arrives. However, he makes it clear that this doesn't mean they are partners. Ken indeed gathers all the information and meets Simon, continuously pleading with him to be his partner. Simon feels sorry for him and agrees to let him help. Ken brings Simon the letter that contains the coupon and tells him that the address is from New Jersey because the postage stamp is from there. He informs Simon that the postal code on the stamp is different from the postal code on the barcode of the letters that come online, which has a code from Phoenix. They realize that the owner of the site has a plan to keep his location private. Simon and Ken travel to Phoenix, where they search all the major markets and ask every cashier if there's someone who always comes in with a large quantity of coupons. Each one of them shares their life story, and it takes a lot of time. Ken becomes very frustrated, unlike Simon, who remains calm. Finally, they reach a cashier who tells them about a blonde woman in her 30s who always comes in with coupons. She says a famous phrase that is the same as the slogan of the site they are looking for, which is, "Save pennies, get more dollars." They realize that she is the one they are looking for. Ken proves his competence to Simon, gaining his trust. They search the area around the market and gather all the postal employees, asking them if they suspect anyone in particular who sends a lot of letters. One of the employees, named Beard, is actually a fan of JoJo and follows all her videos. He knows she always talks about coupons and interrogates Simon and Ken to learn more about JoJo. However, Beard denies knowing anyone named JoJo and refuses to say anything. Simon lets him go and tries to calm Ken, who is very frustrated, saying that they will keep an eye on him. The next day, Beard goes to JoJo's house to warn her, but he doesn't find her there. He decides to leave her a message along with the other letters and asks her mother to deliver it to her before leaving. Simon and Ken stay in the car in front of JoJo's house to watch her. Meanwhile, in the house with Kony, who is sitting with JoJo, they are planning how to sell the things they have. Tina calls them from a strange number so no one can trace her location. She tells them she is waiting for them outside and continuously scolds them along the way for buying all those things, saying it will draw attention to them. She also mentions that their money was actually clean because JoJo works in the cosmetics field, which serves as a cover for them. They end up buying a lot of things for nothing. Tina tells them that they need to act quickly and sell everything. After that, they take the money to the bank in small installments until they distribute all of it. Using the fake IDs she made for them, they will distribute their money across several accounts. Kony and JoJo return home and think about how to get rid of the weapons first. They go together to a gas station near the desert and find 2 guys with weapons. Kony approaches them to talk and tries to lure them in to sell them the weapon. They are 2 very large young men and have given themselves aliases. Kony asks them if they are members of a hunting club, but they tell her that they are training to handle weapons. Kony goes out with them and tells them about the weapons she has, so they take her to their camp, which is located very far out in the desert. JoJo is very scared that they might be a gang and kidnap her, but Kony is very confident in what she is doing and promises to protect her. JoJo tells her not to make that promise because she wouldn't be able to protect herself anyway. They arrive at the camp leader, and as soon as he sees them, he mocks them and refuses to take the weapons because he doubts them. JoJo talks to him, and she is very persuasive, managing to sell him the weapons for a good price. JoJo is very happy with her success, to the point that she goes out and starts dancing in the street. Simon and Ken see her and stay up all night waiting for her to come out so they can follow her. In the morning, JoJo gets in her car and heads to the place where she meets Kony, which is far from their home, just as Tina told them. JoJo passes by Kony's house and honks the car horn at her as she walks, but Simon and Ken don't notice and keep walking behind JoJo, while Kony follows behind them, and no one knows about the other's existence. JoJo arrives at the first house, so Simon has to turn the car around so no one notices. Then Kony's car arrives at the house. Just as Simon is parking his car, Kony has already entered the house, and they have to wait again until they find out who JoJo's partner is. Kony finally comes out, and she fits the same description that Ken and Simon have, so they decide to watch her. Kony returns to her house and finds that her husband is back. He is surprised when he sees that she has redecorated the house and bought him a new television as a gift. Kony tells him that she listened to his advice, looked for another job, and is now working in sales. Rick is pleased with her and reminds her that she has forgotten about the topic of having children and seems to be doing well. But in reality, Kony has an appointment with a gynecologist because she really wants to have children, and she decides to make one last attempt. She undergoes a procedure in which the eggs are fertilized directly by her husband's sperm. However, Kony decides to inject her eggs with sperm from someone other than her husband. The doctor warns her and tells her that her husband must know. Kony replies that it's her life and her body, and she is free to do as she wishes. She chooses a handsome, athletic man and buys his sperm, waiting for the results. In return, she pays a huge sum of money. She can't believe she had to pay all that just to have children, especially since other people can have kids without doing anything, and this makes her feel sad. Simon and Ken continue to watch JoJo and Kony until they gather all the evidence and decide to arrest them. Police cars arrive at the house of each one, and they arrest JoJo and her mother, as well as Kony. The police confiscate all the products in their homes. In prison, they interrogate JoJo's mother, who decides to cooperate with them and tells them everything she was suspicious about. JoJo is interrogated, and she denies even knowing about the website. However, the police manage to access all her videos where she promotes the site, and she eventually confesses the truth. As for Kony, she is the most accused, as she is considered the mastermind behind the crime. Simon tells her that she could face 40 years in prison, leaving Kony shocked and devastated. Ken advises her to hire a skilled lawyer, and he feels very sorry for her. In prison, Kony and JoJo don't see what they did as fraud or deceit, but they acknowledge that it was theft. The police manage to trace their source back to Mexico. However, Jorge and his wife completely disappear after hearing the news of their arrest. The postal worker learns about what happened to JoJo, who he loves, so he decides to pay her bail. Rick, on the other hand, refuses to pay Kony's bail, and she decides to divorce him and leave him. In court, JoJo and Kony's lawyer is very skilled and helps with the case since most of the companies Kony scammed are willing to let their names be associated with it. The lawyer manages to convince the judge of the triviality of the case and argues that the company Kony and JoJo established is a successful business. The judge is persuaded and decides to reduce the sentence, ruling that JoJo only serves a few days in prison and pays a fine. As for Kony, she is sentenced to only 11 months, and they are both very happy because they thought they would receive life sentences. JoJo opens her own company and marries the postal worker who loves her. Kony waits to complete her sentence in prison so she can be JoJo's partner, and she finally becomes pregnant as she had always wished. She spends her time in prison feeling very happy because she was able to achieve everything she desired. She prepares for a new life, legal work, and raising her baby who is on the way. And so, Kony's journey comes to a dramatic close. From hopeful dreams to unexpected twist, her story reminds us that every choice has its consequences. Did you find yourself at a crossroads? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Cinema in a Nutshell. Your support helps us bring more exciting stories to your screen. Join our community of film lovers, and let's explore the magic of cinema together. Thanks for watching.